Well, good afternoon from sagebrush country in the Wahwah Mountains of southwestern Utah, out in what they call the West Desert. Some of these big, long north-south mountain ranges, the Wawas are one of those. There's pockets of big old giant pine trees. There's bristlecone pine on top. There's old mines, some cool places to explore, lots of solitude. Gonna hope to convince you to come and visit them sometime. Coming right along. Have you ever visited a place and kind of had a magical experience and wanted to go back and see it again? Well, here I am, finally, after 30 years, coming back and seeing the Wahwah Mountains again. I think I fell in love with their solitude, their seclusion, so I don't know, come along, let's see what it looks like after 30 years. One of the things I think is interesting, you get in these long desert valleys where the road stretches ahead of you forever and you can always see traffic coming. So here's somebody coming from a long distance away. You can see the dust plume coming off there. So hey, no sneaking up on vehicles here. The other real advantage of a windy day is when it's blowing the dust the right way. So we're not going to have to eat his dust for very long when we pass him. One of the interesting things on these wide open public land is you see this stuff from a distance, you wonder what it is, you get a little closer. Old abandoned trailer here. There's still clothes and stuff inside. And a teddy bear. Just wonder what the story is. You know, why is it here? Why did it get left behind? This is called halogeton. It's an invasive from Asia. Been in western rangelands now for decades. It expands in these very arid desert valley bottoms, and this is in bloom for the fall. And it's got, I've talked about this before, I think in a video or two. It's got these little hot dog shaped corn dog leaves. You can recognize it. And it's a sign of a degraded rangeland. So I'm going to show you here. As far as the eye can see is halogeton. This is a bigger plant in front of me because there's a little more moisture from this old road. So, holy smokes. Pretty hard used rangeland here. So one of the fun things about wide open space is you can see features ahead that you kind of are curious about. I don't know if you can see left of the road there, but maybe a tractor. I've just been seeing it for a while. Anyway, let's go see what it is. So it turns out this is a road grader. We were looking at how nice this road was. You can see actually grader tracks along the side. So they've just posted it up there, and they'll be back grading, I guess, when their shift starts again. So I'm an old vegetation mapper from satellite. I just can't look across these vast valleys without looking at what's growing here. You know, it's in a rain shadow. I'm guessing 7 inches of moisture a year. It's all that comes here. So kind of what grows here? Well, I'll show you. When I look around, I see halogeton. There it is. I just talked to you about that. There's some Douglas rabbit brush. See, it's in bloom. It blooms in the fall. That's one that's blooming with not a lot of moisture to work with. If you look a little closer, there's some cheatgrass there and Russian thistle, which is tumbleweed. So those are both invasives, as well as the halogeton there. But there's some native plants here. You start looking around. Here's one I'll show you. This is winter fat. This little shrub here, it's gray, and it's actually a good plant. Sheep love to graze this. They'll often graze sheep on this in the winter. And then in terms of grass, there's a few native grasses here. This is a little humble guy here. He doesn't get a lot of moisture. They'll often get a lot bigger than this. This is called sand dropseed. So anyway, I guess kind of gives you an idea. It's a pretty even mix of this stuff as I look across this valley here. So we've been out in that flat land and we're now in the bench lands here in the Wyoming big sage and juniper. And Those are the Wahwah Mountains we're headed up into. In fact, we're headed up to a canyon called Pine Grove Canyon. Some really tall ponderosa pines, so we'll show more of that later. Also wanted to just show, these are Utah junipers, and they are invaders if there's no fire to push them back. Meaning they'll invade down in these valleys just like this. I think this is a good example where you see these individuals going down into the valley here, and they will invade in places. And this is a good example of how they're moving out into here. Really not a lot of fuel to carry a fire, but you know, historically one would occur every now and then, and juniper can't tolerate fire. It'll kill them, push them back. So there's an example of invasion. Okay, we're up in the pine groves. The pines are ponderosa pine, and there's some big ones up here. Look at this big individual pine. Some real beauties up in here. See the lizard there? Let's see if we can get a little closer. Doesn't seem to be concerned about us here. Little year-round stream comes out of this canyon, so there's big, well-developed meadows and other riparian vegetation, which is so pleasant to see in these desert mountains. Always interesting, the ruins you find in these mountains. This one is an old mine. See the slag pile behind there? They must have mined back in the mountain there. So it looks like some kind of production building of some kind. And there's the shack they would have lived in. And it's all in a big wet meadow. A little creek going down here, so they had a water source. Hey guys, I need you to cooperate. You can't see unless you move. Okay, can you move? Move, there you go. Move a little more. Move a little more. So we went up from Pine Canyon up over the top of the mountain. The road was not terrible, but you just definitely had to take your time, wind your way around the trees and the rocks. But look at the view when you get at the top here. We just really enjoyed it. It was beautiful. Here we are coming down off the pass on the other side. Definitely a lesser used road, rougher. Had to take it a lot slower, but still doable. Back down off the mountain, a lot wider road down the Pinyon Juniper Belt, which is a great place to go camping. So we found a great campsite, showing you here, and had a really peaceful night. Headed out now in the morning, another long straight stretch of road to cover. Thanks for riding along. Hope you find some open space in your life.